Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by the movie Hangout, and let's talk about Harrison Ford defending Indiana Jones 4. As if there's anything you could possibly defend about this film, I'm going to be reading an article here of Harrison Ford recently gave an interview, and let's see what he says about it. Because if I try to get through the movie, that was a journey, a quest that I just could not get the end of. But we're going to go through what Harrison Ford says all these years after the film was released. But before I jump into the just crazy statements from Harrison Ford, if you go on over, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell, comment and like this video. I want to hear what your opinion is on Indiana Jones for the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Crystal Alien Skull thing, whatever. So I tried to get through the movie. I got about a third of the way through it, but the whole film is just way off. I love Harrison Ford. I love the character Indiana Jones. I'm even I like a lot of the work even Shia LaBeouf does, right? I mean, I thought he was great in Transformers. I liked him in Disturbia. I liked him in the movie Holes he did when he was a kid. He does a lot of really good work, but it just, for some reason, this whole thing just didn't really settle with me. Also, the stunts were some of the most ridiculous stunts that I've ever seen. And granted, I get it. The series is based on those comic strips from the 40s or 50s. I mean, that's what George Lucas and Steven Spielberg based the whole concept on. I get it. It's basically a live action cartoon. You have to suspend disbelief a little bit, but this was just beyond anything I could have ever imagined. Anyway, Harrison Ford is defending it, so let's see. So I'm over here at Screen Rant. Harrison Ford responds to Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull hate. They could have come up with a better title, right? Harrison Ford responds to all the hate that Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull received and explains why he doesn't care about it. Probably because he got a boatload of money. That's probably why. I mean, if I was getting that kind of money, I wouldn't care either. With his return in a fifth film on the horizon, Harrison Ford reflects on the negative response Indiana Jones 4 received. After starring in the original Indiana Jones trilogy from 1981 to 1989, as far as I'm concerned, those are the only Indiana Jones movies that exist. It's like the original Star Wars. There's only those original three. Everything else is just, it doesn't exist in my mind. I don't acknowledge it, only for when I do videos. Ford returned for a fourth installment in 2008, which saw his titular, interesting word, archaeologist teaming up with his estranged son, played by Shia LaBeouf, to search for a telepathic crystal skull. While the original trilogy received a near universal acclaim, I don't think it did receive universal acclaim. The fourth film, the original trilogy did. The fourth film was the first time in the series suffered a significant drop in quality and in turn received a fair amount of hate for it. In a recent profile by Hollywood Reporter, Ford looked ahead to his return of Dial of Destiny and reflected on the negative response. Looking back, the veteran actor is unfazed by all the hate, and he says the critics were harsh on it. But what are they doing now? I understand, but those were their rules, not Steven Spielberg's and co-writer George Lucas's rules. They were imposing their rules on what the movie should be. I don't feel it's necessary to address those issues. I think that everyone has a right to their opinion. The film was not as successful as we wanted it to be, perhaps, but it didn't create an attitude or behavior that carried over into this film. I see, when he says the critics, I think what he should just say is the audience, right? Because, the shill critics, the critics that are handpicked by the studios, they gave it pretty good reviews. So if you go over to Rotten Tomatoes, which, I mean, everybody on here has been handpicked by... Rotten Tomatoes is owned by Warner Brothers, if you don't know that. They're not like an independent website at all. They're corporate. The handpicked critics gave it a 78% It's rated as fresh. That's almost a B minus. And if you've seen the film, it's like a D minus. It's not even close to a B. Giving it a C minus would be very generous. Now, the audience score, based on over 250,000 ratings by the audience, gave it a rotten, a 53%, so an F rating. I would go with the 250,000 people, their rating, as opposed to the handpicked 276 critics that are, given access to actors and filmmakers and all that stuff, that they're going to say whatever they got to say to keep that. The reason, in my opinion, why this movie was so bad, they didn't have really any practical effects. It was CGI was used. To say it was used a lot would be an understatement. There are entire scenes where there isn't one real person or animal or creature. It's just, there's a scene in this movie, I kid you not, where Shia LaBeouf he's swinging on vines with monkeys like Tarzan, and the monkeys are swinging next to him. It's 100% CGI. It's fake. It's ridiculous, and it just pulls you out of the movie. It's like watching a cartoon in a way. It's like watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where there's like animated beings in it, and it's obviously not real. That's kind of what this was like. The original trilogy, there were a lot of stunts in it. Harrison Ford did a lot of his own stunts. They used a lot of stunt guys in it. When somebody is like falling, when somebody's jumping over something, you can tell it's a real person doing it. The laws of physics apply. Harrison Ford is not jumping 15 feet. He's jumping, maybe 6 feet, 7 feet at tops, when he's running. It's realistic, so that way you can suspend your disbelief. Whereas to accept Crystal Skull, you got to suspend your disbelief in the opening credits. It's ridiculous. Indiana Jones and Kingdom of Crystal Skull is not as bad as some remember. It's actually worse. It's not even as bad. It's way worse. Both the interviewer and Ford recall critics being harsh. In actuality, the critical response to the fourth film wasn't that bad. It's certified fresh. It's 78%. So now Screen Rant is toting the hand-picked media, right? That reviewed this. They're not talking about the audience, which is the lowest in this series by a slim margin, but a long way from being rotten or critically maligned. It was both those things. And then it also says, just like I said earlier, there was some criticism regarding its dialogue, pacing, and shoddy CGI. So when it says dialogue and pacing, criticism of it, what that means is the writing was terrible. The writing was really bad. That's dialogue. You have great actors, right? They're delivering just really like lame dialogue, which isn't their fault. They're doing it well, but they have to say what's on the paper. So the writing is bad. The pacing, which would mean the directing wasn't very good. And then shoddy CGI, like I said earlier. There are huge sequences all throughout this movie that it's completely fake. It's completely green screen. Everybody is just fake. There's nothing real about it, and it takes you out of it, right? It's like it kind of becomes so over the top that you get desensitized to it, and it gets boring. But anyway, that is basically the gist of the article. Now, are there going to be improvements from Indiana Jones 4 to Indiana Jones 5? I'm very skeptical of it. I watched the trailer. I might do a video where I go little by little through the trailer to point out things that I noticed in it. But a lot of the same elements that are in Indiana Jones 4 that made it just a lousy movie, I already see it in the trailer. There's huge shots in the trailer that are all CGI. Harrison Ford riding on a horse. The horse is fake. He's fake. Everybody around him's fake. It doesn't even exist. It's just, there's a lot of things that I'm seeing about that. But let me know what you think. Do you think Indiana Jones 4, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, do you think that movie has aged like a fine wine? Or do you think it's aged like potato salad in the desert? Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you need to get future rants, reviews, or original content, click subscribe. Later.